In the bustling, sun-drenched sprawl of 1920s Los Angeles, where the silent film industry was booming and the future felt infinitely bright, a quiet, unassuming life unfolded in the modest home of Christine Collins. A single mother, Christine was a woman of unwavering resolve, her spirit as resilient as the city itself. Her world, her very universe, revolved around her 9-year-old son, Walter. He was a bright, curious boy with an infectious smile and an imagination that knew no bounds. Their days were a simple, comforting rhythm. Christine working tirelessly as a telephone operator, connecting the city's myriad voices, and Walter, a model student attending school, always returning home to the warmth of his mother's embrace. Their bond was a palpable thing, a fortress of love against the cacophony of the outside world. March 10th, 1928. It dawned like any other Saturday. The air was crisp, hinting at the spring just around the corner. Christine, ever punctual, prepared for her shift. Walter, as usual, wanted to go to the pictures, to immerse himself in the flickering magic of the cinema. Christine, needing to run an errand after work, promised him a trip to the movies later that evening. It was a small, seemingly insignificant detail, a minor alteration to their routine, but in retrospect it would loom like a monstrous shadow over everything that followed. Walter, ever the agreeable son, understood. He waved goodbye to his mother as she left for the telephone exchange, a small, innocent gesture that would haunt Christine for the rest of her days. He was wearing a blue sailor suit, a detail that would be etched into every memory, every plea, every desperate search. The afternoon sun began to dip, casting long shadows across the Los Angeles streets. Christine finished her shift, her mind already on Walter, on their planned movie outing. She hurried home, a sense of anticipation building within her. But as she unlocked the front door, the familiar hum of their quiet house was replaced by an unsettling silence. Walter wasn't there. The house was empty. Her heart, which had been beating with the comfortable rhythm of everyday life, lurched, a cold, sharp dread beginning to spread through her veins. Panic, cold and unyielding, seized her. At first it was a whisper, then a scream in her mind. Walter always came straight home. He never wandered far. She called out his name, her voice trembling, echoing through the empty rooms. She checked every corner of their small home, the yard, the street. Nothing. Only the growing silence and the heavy, suffocating weight of absence. The neighborhood, usually bustling with children, seemed unnaturally quiet. Christine's frantic calls to neighbors yielded no answers. Had anyone seen Walter? No one had. The initial search was a blur of terror and desperate hope. Christine immediately contacted the Los Angeles Police Department, her voice hoarse with unshed tears, her plea a desperate cry into the void. Officers were dispatched, but their initial efforts seemed agonizingly slow, bureaucratic, almost dismissive in the face of her raw anguish. They searched the immediate vicinity, questioned a few people, but as the hours bled into night, and then into the chilling dawn of a new day, there was no trace, no witness, no clue, just the gaping, horrifying void where her son had been. Days crawled by, each one heavier than the last, dragging Christine deeper into a nightmare from which she couldn't wake. The initial flurry of police activity dwindled. The hopeful promises of, "We'll find him," faded into a grim silence. Every knock on the door, every ringing of the telephone, sent a jolt of desperate hope through her, only to be crushed by disappointment. She plastered missing person flyers, her son's smiling face staring out from every lamppost, every shop window, a silent plea to a city that seemed to have swallowed him whole. Weeks turned into a month, then two. The once vibrant Los Angeles, full of possibility, now seemed to mock her with its indifference. laughter of other children, the sight of mothers walking hand in hand with their sons, became unbearable reminders of the life that had been brutally ripped away from her. The silence in her home was no longer just the absence of noise. It was the echoing sound of a mother's broken heart, an agonizing testament to a missing boy, and a life forever altered by a single, terrifying day. Christine Collins, a woman of quiet strength, found her life irrevocably shattered on that fateful day in March 1928. Her 9-year-old son, Walter, had vanished without a trace, leaving behind an unbearable void. In the days and weeks that followed, Christine embarked on a relentless, agonizing crusade to find him. Her pleas were not whispered in private. They echoed through the streets of Los Angeles, amplified by a local press captivated by the heart-wrenching tale of a single mother's desperate search. Every interview, every public appeal, every tear shed on camera ratcheted up the pressure on the Los Angeles Police Department. The LAPD, already struggling with a tarnished public image due to accusations of corruption and inefficiency, found themselves in an unenviable spotlight. The disappearance of Walter Collins became a high-profile case, a symbol of their perceived failings. The public demanded answers, and they demanded them now. The pressure mounted, reaching an almost unbearable crescendo, threatening to engulf Chief of Police James Davis and his embattled force. They needed a win. They needed to find Walter, or failing that, they needed to produce Walter. Months bled into an agonizing year. Then a glimmer of what appeared to be hope emerged from the unlikeliest of places. In September 1928, a boy was found in DeKalb, Illinois, claiming to be Walter Collins. He matched the general description, a fair-haired boy of approximately the right age. The news was a godsend for the beleaguered LAPD. Here was their chance, a golden opportunity to silence the critics, to restore public faith, and to finally close the file on a case that had become a persistent thorn in their side. The department, eager to present a triumphant resolution, immediately arranged for the boy's transport back to Los Angeles, framing it as a remarkable success story. No thorough, independent verification of the boy's identity seemed necessary, or perhaps was even desired. The narrative was set. Walter Collins had been found. The stage was meticulously set for a reunion that the LAPD hoped would be celebrated across the nation. Photographers and reporters jostled for position at the train station, eager to capture the moment of a mother's joy, a symbol of justice delivered. The air crackled with anticipation, a mix of relief and morbid curiosity. Christine Collins stood waiting, her heart a tangled knot of hope and trepidation. She had clung to every scrap of news, every whisper that her beloved son might still be alive. When the boy disembarked, her eyes, filled with a mother's unwavering love and intimate knowledge, met his. And in that instant, her world already shattered, splintered further. The boy before her, though vaguely resembling her son, was not Walter. Her son had distinct teeth, a different height, a different demeanor. This boy was clearly an imposter. A cold wave of despair washed over her, quickly followed by a surge of defiant certainty. "That is not my son," she declared, her voice trembling but firm, the words echoing in the stunned silence of the bustling station. The joyous tableau the LAPD had so carefully orchestrated instantly crumbled. The reporters, sensing a far more compelling story than a simple reunion, turned their cameras to Christine's anguished, resolute face. The LAPD's reaction was swift, chilling, and utterly beyond comprehension. Instead of acknowledging Christine's heartbreaking truth, they launched into a campaign of blatant gaslighting. Captain J.J. Jones, the head of the Juvenile Division, a man whose public duty was to protect children, stepped forward. He aggressively insisted that Christine was mistaken, that the trauma of the situation must have disoriented her. He urged her to try the boy out, to take him home for a few days, implying that a mother's bond would magically reemerge, or perhaps that she would simply concede under pressure. This was not a suggestion. It was an order cloaked in condescending concern. The department's desperation to close the case outweighed any semblance of professional integrity or human empathy. They were less interested in finding the true Walter Collins and more invested in maintaining their carefully constructed narrative. The situation escalated rapidly. Christine, unwavering in her conviction, refused to accept the imposter. Her refusal was not a whim. It was the raw, unyielding truth of a mother's heart. This steadfast refusal created an unprecedented public relations catastrophe for the LAPD. Their meticulously planned triumph had transformed into a grotesque charade. Instead of celebrating a successful recovery, the public witnessed a mother being browbeaten and dismissed by the very institution sworn to protect her. The LAPD's actions were not only callous, they were a direct assault on Christine Collins's credibility, and by extension, on her sanity. Captain Jones, his face hardening with frustration, delivered a chilling ultimatum. He accused Christine of being an unfit mother, of deliberately trying to avoid her parental responsibilities, and of making a public fool of the police department. He threatened her, subtly at first, then more overtly. He demanded she acknowledge the boy as Walter, or face the consequences. The message was clear: conform or suffer. The very people who should have been her allies had become her tormentors. Christine, a lone woman against the formidable might of the Los Angeles Police Department, found herself caught in a nightmarish web of deceit and coercion, her desperate search for her son twisting into an unforeseen battle for her own freedom and reputation. The imposter, meanwhile, remained a bewildered bystander, a pawn in a cynical game played by powerful men. The true Walter Collins, wherever he was, remained lost, his fate overshadowed by a stunning display of institutional arrogance and abuse of power. The audacity of power, unchecked and desperate. LAPD Captain J. Jones, cornered by the mounting inconsistencies in the Wineville case, resorted to the most chilling form of silencing. Christine Collins, relentless in her search for her son, refused to abandon her truth. The boy presented to her was an imposter. This unwavering stance was deemed delusional behavior by Jones. It wasn't about mental health. It was about control, about burying a scandal, about protecting the LAPD's tarnished reputation. The institution meant to protect now turned on an innocent citizen. On March 10, 1928, the unthinkable became reality. With a swift, brutal stroke of corrupt authority, Christine Collins was forcibly committed to Patton State Hospital, an asylum infamous for its rigid, often inhumane conditions. Imagine the terror. One moment, a grieving mother seeking justice. The next, stripped of liberty, declared insane, locked away, her voice extinguished. This wasn't merely physical confinement. It was a calculated attempt to dismantle her sanity, to break her spirit, forcing her conformity. Inside Patton, Christine plunged into a nightmare. Sterile, echoing hallways, distant moans, bewildered stares, a constant sensory assault. Days blurred into weeks, marked by rigid routines, cold institutional food, and a pervasive sense of helplessness. Her pleas of sanity were dismissed as delusion. Every attempt to assert her truth met dismissive nods. She witnessed despair, yet a fierce spark of resistance flickered. She knew she wasn't mad. She knew her son was missing. She knew the LAPD was behind it all. But Christine was not truly alone. Outside, whispers swelled into shouts. The sudden, forced commitment of a respectable woman like Christine Collins, so publicly engaged in a heartbreaking search, triggered immediate alarm. Concerned citizens recognized a more insidious threat: police overreach, an abuse of power that could victimize anyone. A pivotal figure emerged: Pastor Gustav Briglev. A fiery, eloquent minister, Briglev spoke truth to power. He recognized Christine's case as a chilling symptom of deeper, systemic LAPD corruption. From his pulpit and through public speeches, he tirelessly championed Christine's cause, framing it as a critical battle for civil liberties against an authoritarian regime. He galvanized public opinion, painting a vivid picture of a mother unjustly silenced, held captive by authorities. The press, initially cautious, slowly turned its gaze. Articles detailing Christine's harrowing commitment, coupled with Briglev's relentless advocacy, chipped away at the LAPD's facade. Public outcry became a torrent. Petitions were signed, protests organized. The Wineville Chicken Coop Murders was already notorious, and police's clumsy attempt to silence a key witness fueled outrage. Captain J.J. Jones found himself under unprecedented scrutiny, his career hanging by a thread. The mounting pressure became unbearable. A dedicated legal team working pro bono relentlessly pushed for Christine's release, armed with irrefutable evidence of her sanity and the sheer injustice. The public's sustained roar, amplified by Pastor Briglev's unwavering voice, finally forced the authorities' hand. On August 18, 1928, after 77 harrowing days, Christine Collins was at last released from Patton State Hospital. She walked out not broken, but remarkably emboldened, her resolve hardened by the ordeal. Her release was a triumph, yet only the beginning of a larger reckoning. Christine's case became a powerful symbol, a searing indictment of police corruption and abuse of power. Public outcry led directly to an LAPD investigation. Captain J.J. Jones faced immense condemnation and legal repercussions. Exposure of his actions and broader systemic issues triggered forced resignations. Officials who tried to bury the truth found themselves buried by it. Christine Collins, once silenced, became a catalyst for profound change, her harrowing ordeal forcing a city to confront its dark law enforcement underbelly. Her courage and steadfast support ensured her voice, once suppressed, would echo for generations as a testament to resilience against injustice. While Los Angeles authorities grappled with the baffling disappearance of Walter Collins, a parallel, far more sinister investigation was quietly unfurling in the seemingly tranquil landscapes of Riverside County. This was not a case of a single missing child, but the chilling prospect of a predator operating with impunity, leaving a trail of vanished innocence. The spotlight of suspicion soon swung towards a man named Gordon Stewart Northcott, a peculiar figure who owned an isolated chicken ranch tucked away in the dusty, sun-baked hills of Wineville. Northcott's demeanor was unsettling, a thin veneer of normalcy barely concealing an erratic and often violent temperament. He had a nephew, Sanford Clark, living with him, and it was this young man's testimony obtained under extreme duress that would ultimately rip open the horrifying reality of what transpired at the Wineville Ranch. On August 29, 1928, the authorities, acting on mounting suspicions and the initial, fragmented confessions of Sanford, descended upon Northcott's property. The scene that greeted them was a portrait of desolation and decay, but beneath the surface lay something far more macabre. The very air hung heavy with a sense of dread. Initial searches yielded nothing immediately damning, but the persistent whispers, the fragmented stories, and the undeniable feeling that something was deeply wrong urged the investigators onward. It was during a more thorough, systematic search that the first true horrors began to reveal themselves. Investigators unearthed grim findings: various discarded tools, remnants of clothing, and unsettlingly, evidence of recent burn pits. The stench of decay and something indefinably foul permeated the dry earth. What they uncovered next would shock even the most hardened officers. In shallow graves and concealed pits around the property, the skeletal remains of young boys were discovered. Each discovery chipped away at the hope that these children were merely missing. Instead, it confirmed the worst fears. Sanford Clark, fragile and clearly traumatized, became the key to unlocking the true scope of Northcott's depravity. His initial reluctance gave way to a harrowing confession, a descent into the darkest corners of human evil. He recounted a chilling, systematic pattern of abductions. Young boys, lured by Northcott's false promises, were brought to the secluded ranch. There, they were subjected to unspeakable acts of torture, abuse, and ultimately murder. Sanford's testimony painted a picture of unfathomable cruelty. He detailed how some boys were shot, others bludgeoned, and some even dismembered. The remains were then either buried on the property or burned in the pits, attempts made to erase any trace of their existence. The sheer volume of victims, the cold calculation of the acts, and the utter lack of remorse described by Sanford were beyond comprehension. Among the victims Sanford explicitly mentioned was a boy who fit Walter Collins' description, including details about his age and appearance. Sanford recounted seeing Walter at the ranch, alive, and then later his horrifying fate. He described how Walter, along with 2 other boys, had been abducted by Northcott and brought to the ranch. There, they were held captive, subjected to horrific abuse before ultimately being murdered. The details Sanford provided were gruesome, painting a vivid and terrifying picture of Walter's final days and his ultimate demise. This testimony, coming from someone who had witnessed these atrocities firsthand, was damning beyond measure. It provided the first concrete answers to the haunting question of Walter's whereabouts, answers that shattered Christine Collins' lingering hope. The revelation of Walter's fate was a devastating blow, not just to his mother, but to the entire community that had rallied behind her. The Wineville Chicken Coop Murders, as they came to be known, exposed a monstrous evil operating under the very noses of unsuspecting citizens. Northcott had lured boys from Los Angeles and other nearby areas, bringing them to his isolated ranch where their innocence was stolen, their lives brutally ended. Sanford Clark's confession wasn't just about Walter. It illuminated the fates of several other unnamed victims, boys whose disappearances had gone unnoticed or unlinked to the horror in Wineville. It revealed a deeply disturbed individual who found perverse pleasure in inflicting pain and taking life. The investigation at the ranch continued for weeks, yielding more evidence of the unspeakable crimes committed there. Each piece of bone, each fragment of clothing, each disturbed patch of earth added another horrifying detail to the mosaic of Northcott's depravity. The case sent shockwaves across California and beyond. It forced a terrifying confrontation with the reality that such evil could exist, hidden in plain sight. The discovery of the Wineville horrors brought a grim closure to some families, while for others, like Christine Collins, it brought only the confirmation of their worst nightmares. The secluded chicken ranch, once a symbol of rural industry, was now forever stained by the blood of innocence, a testament to the unimaginable cruelty perpetrated within its desolate confines. The horror of Wineville would forever be etched into the annals of American crime, a chilling reminder of the dark secrets that can fester beneath the surface of everyday life. This was not just a crime. It was a testament to the depths of human depravity and the unwavering determination of those who sought to bring light to the darkness, finally revealing the dark fate of many, including young Walter Collins. The desolate winds of Wineville, California, carried whispers of unspeakable horror, but it was in the tranquility of a Canadian farm, miles away from the sun-baked dust, that the monster was finally cornered. Gordon Stewart Northcott, a man who had orchestrated a reign of terror, was apprehended on September 19, 1928, in British Columbia. He had fled across the border, attempting to disappear into the vast wilderness, but the relentless pursuit of law enforcement, fueled by the gruesome discoveries on his ranch, ensured there would be no escape. His capture ignited a wave of relief, yet it also opened the floodgates for the true, horrifying scope of his crimes to be revealed to a stunned nation. The trials that followed were nothing short of a public spectacle, a morbid theater where the depravity of Northcott's soul was laid bare. 2 distinct trials unfolded, each meticulously documented by a hungry press. The first focused on the murder of 15-year-old Walter Collins, a crime that directly implicated Northcott and his mother, Sarah Louise Northcott, in the boy's death. The chilling testimony painted a picture of torture, abuse, and murder, leaving courtrooms breathless. Sarah Louise, a woman complicit in her son's atrocities, was herself convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison. But the horror didn't end there. A second trial cemented Gordon Northcott's place as one of America's most monstrous serial killers. This time, he was tried for the murders of 2 brothers, Nelson and Louis Winslow. The sheer brutality of the crimes, the calculated indifference with which they were carried out, sent shivers down the spines of all who listened. Northcott, despite his attempts to feign insanity or shift blame, was ultimately found guilty on all counts. His appeals were swiftly denied, the evidence against him overwhelming, the public demand for justice deafening. On February 28, 1930, Gordon Stewart Northcott met his end on the gallows at San Quentin prison, his final moments devoid of remorse, a chilling testament to the void within him. His execution brought a semblance of closure to the families, but for one woman, the fight for justice was far from over. Christine Collins, fresh from her traumatic wrongful incarceration in the Los Angeles County General Hospital's psychiatric ward, emerged not broken, but burning with a quiet, unyielding fury. The ordeal had been designed to silence her, to dismiss her maternal pleas as the ramblings of a deranged woman. Instead, it forged an unbreakable resolve. Her son Walter remained missing, his fate tragically sealed by Northcott, but Christine's battle shifted from finding him to holding accountable those who had so cruelly denied her pleas and violated her rights. Her primary target was the architect of her torment, Captain J.J. Jones, head of the LAPD's Juvenile Division. Jones had not only dismissed her legitimate concerns about the imposter child, but had gone further, using the department's authority to forcibly commit her to an asylum. It was an act of profound injustice, a direct assault on her character and her sanity. Christine wasted no time. Supported by a growing chorus of public outrage and championed by figures like Reverend Gustave A. Friegleb, who decried the corruption within the LAPD, she filed a lawsuit. The ensuing legal battles were as dramatic and captivating as the Northcott trials themselves. Christine's civil suit against Captain Jones for false imprisonment and defamation became a rallying cry for citizens tired of police overreach and unchecked power. The testimony revealed a shocking pattern of disregard for truth and blatant abuses of authority within the LAPD. The public, already reeling from the horrific revelations of the Wineville murders, now witnessed another layer of systemic corruption. In a landmark the public apology from the Los Angeles Police Department and the conviction of Gordon Northcott brought a momentary, fragile peace to the shattered life of Christine Collins. But for Christine, true peace remained an elusive phantom, dancing just beyond her grasp. The Wineville Farm revelations had confirmed Walter was among Northcott's victims, yet his body was never found. No remains were ever definitively identified as her son's, leaving the most agonizing question unanswered. Where was Walter? This absence of a grave, of a final resting place, fueled an enduring hope within Christine, a desperate maternal instinct that defied logic and the passage of time. How could she mourn a child whose body had vanished, leaving no trace? Her grief was boundless, yet it lacked the anchor of finality. She clung to the slimmest possibility that Walter might have, against all odds, escaped, or perhaps that his remains lay somewhere, awaiting discovery, a quiet testament to his short, tragic life. Christine's life after the trials transformed into a relentless, singular quest for definitive answers. She visited psychiatric facilities where Walter's fellow victims had been confined, hoping for a clue, a whisper of his true fate. She meticulously followed every lead, every rumor, no matter how faint. The authorities had moved on, their headlines fading, but Christine's personal cold case burned with an undiminished intensity. She corresponded with officials, tirelessly petitioned, and revisited the darkest corners of the investigation, refusing to let Walter simply disappear into the annals of unsolved mysteries. Her heart held a quiet, persistent ache, a mother's profound longing for closure that the world seemed determined to deny her. Beyond her personal search, Christine Collins also embarked on a courageous legal battle against the LAPD. The department had not only failed to find her son, but had publicly branded her an unfit mother and locked her away for questioning their fabricated narrative. She sought damages from Chief James Davis, the architect of her wrongful institutionalization, not merely for financial gain, but as a demand for accountability. This was a fight for justice, a righteous defiance against the systemic injustice that had stripped her of her dignity and compounded her agony. Her lawsuit, though initially successful, was bogged down by appeals and legal maneuvering, dragging on for years. Despite a court ruling in her favor, Chief Davis never paid the full judgment, leaving Christine with a hollow victory and a stark reminder of the limitations of justice against entrenched power. The legal system, meant to provide solace, instead became another arena where her spirit was tested and her grief exploited. Yet she persisted, her quiet resolve unwavering, a testament to her profound courage in the face of insurmountable odds. Years turned into decades, and the sensational headlines faded into memory. The world moved on from the Wineville Chicken Coop Murders and the shocking LAPD scandal. But Christine Collins never truly moved on. Her quest for Walter, for answers, for justice, became the defining mission of her life. Each passing year brought new pain, new disappointment, but never a surrender. She continued her inquiries, corresponded with anyone who might offer a lead, her hope morphing from finding a living child to finding peace for his ghost. Her later years were marked by the quiet dignity of a woman who had endured unspeakable tragedy and profound betrayal, yet never broke. Christine Collins passed away in 1964, at the age of 75, still without knowing the precise fate of her beloved son. Her story, born from the depths of despair and official corruption, stands as a profound testament to a mother's unbreakable spirit. Christine Collins faced down systemic injustice, public ridicule, and the most unimaginable personal loss with an unwavering dedication that few could comprehend. Her relentless pursuit of truth, her courage to challenge a powerful institution, and her lifelong hope for Walter's definitive answers make her an enduring symbol. She was not just a victim, she was a fighter, a mother whose love proved stronger than the darkness of deceit and the ravages of time. Christine Collins' story, though heartbreaking, shines a light on the fierce, unyielding bond between a mother and her child, a bond that even death and disappearance could not truly sever. The chilling shadow of the Wineville Chicken Coop Murders stretches far beyond the desolate California ranch where unspeakable horrors unfolded. Its legacy is not merely one of grotesque crime, but of profound societal shifts, exposing vulnerabilities in our justice system and forcing a reckoning with the innocence we strive to protect. This deeply tragic case etched itself into the American consciousness, sparking essential conversations that resonate even today. Before this nightmare, a naive belief in small-town American safety prevailed, a quiet rural ideal where children roamed free. The Wineville horrors shattered that illusion. It revealed monstrous evil lurking beneath an ordinary surface, forcing communities nationwide to confront the terrifying reality that danger could reside anywhere. Parents became acutely aware of childhood's fragility as Gordon Northcott's depravity came to light. The case ignited a heightened vigilance, changing how parents viewed unsupervised play and increasing awareness of predatory behavior. Perhaps the most significant impact was the glaring spotlight on law enforcement practices and police accountability. The Los Angeles Police Department's handling of Walter Collins' disappearance, their insistence on passing off imposter Arthur Hutchins Jr. as Christine Collins' son, and their subsequent attempt to silence her by committing her to a mental asylum were a horrifying testament to systemic failures. Christine's unwavering fight, her refusal to be intimidated, ripped back the curtain on an era where police authority was rarely questioned. Her ordeal ignited public outcry, demanding transparency and accountability from institutions sworn to protect. This public outrage led to tangible, if slow, changes. LAPD Chief James E. Davis, who defended the department's actions, was eventually removed. The political fallout from the case forced authorities to reevaluate internal procedures concerning missing persons investigations and the treatment of grieving families. The Wineville case became a stark historical precedent for challenging police misconduct and demanding due process. It underscored the vital importance of independent oversight and a citizen's right to question authority when justice is denied. Beyond immediate law enforcement reforms, the Wineville Chicken Coop Murders profoundly influenced child protection. The sheer vulnerability of the young victims, easily lured and exploited, galvanized advocates for children's rights. It highlighted the desperate need for more robust systems to track missing children, identify potential threats, and support families. The case served as a grim educational moment, emphasizing psychological manipulation by predators and the critical importance of listening to children, believing their stories, and providing safe spaces for them to report abuse. It wasn't just about catching a killer. It was about preventing future tragedies by understanding pathways to exploitation. Even decades later, enduring questions linger. How many boys truly perished at the chicken coop? Were there other accomplices who evaded justice? The precise number of Northcott's victims remains a subject of historical debate, a grim echo of uncertain fates. The lack of closure for some is perhaps the most agonizing part of the Wineville legacy. It reminds us that even with a killer brought to justice, the wounds inflicted by such crimes can never fully heal for those left behind. And so, we remember the sacrifices of the victims: Walter Collins, Sanford Clark, who, though spared death, carried indelible scars, and all the other young boys whose lives were so cruelly extinguished. Their stolen futures serve as a constant, sobering reminder of human depravity and the preciousness of every young life. But the Wineville legacy also shines a light on an indomitable spirit. Christine Collins, her unwavering resolve, her refusal to accept the official narrative, her persistent search for the truth even when it meant battling the very system designed to help her, transformed her into an unforgettable symbol of resilience. She was a mother who, despite unimaginable grief, never gave up on her son. In doing so, she became a champion for countless others facing similar injustices. Her fight, initially for Walter, ultimately became a fight for truth, accountability, and the rights of every parent to be heard. The Wineville Chicken Coop Murders remain a dark chapter in American history, a stark warning from the past. Yet, from its horrors emerged crucial lessons about societal oversight, police responsibility, and the paramount need to safeguard our children. It's a story not just of tragedy, but of the enduring power of a mother's love and the relentless pursuit of justice, ensuring that the victims are never truly forgotten and their sacrifices continue to inform our collective vigilance.